setting new standards in podcast excellence. You have joined the WBT, fully focused on business and taxes. Here is your host, Michael Lodge.
Welcome to the WBT. This is Michael Lodge. I'm glad that you joined me. Today we're going to talk just a little bit about consistency. I'll be back with you in just a few seconds.
This is brought to you by Lodge & Co., a business and tax advisory firm where your success is our goal. Call us today toll-free at 888-681-1518 or visit us at www.lodge-co.com and learn more about what we can do for you. Lodge & Co., your source for sound business and tax services.
So I just got back from my new place down in Palm Beach, Florida. I tell you, you learn very quickly how old you are when you have to paint. I often forget that when you're painting, you're using almost every portion of your body because you're bending, you're stretching, you're lifting, you're reaching for those corners. And so you're literally using parts of your body that you normally don't use on a daily basis. But I got it all done, but it was a lot of work. And I tell you, it took me 4 days to paint 2 rooms. Because the rooms are so big and they've got such high ceilings. They've got like 10-foot ceilings in that place. And the rooms are huge. They're gigantic. And they've got corner after corner. And they've got pieces of wood sticking out that you can't touch. You can only paint around them. And so you have to get your little brushes and you have to paint. But what I learned is that if you paint with a consistent stroke and in a specific way and be consistent in how you apply the paint, you can really do a good paint job. It's all about consistency, isn't it? Consistency in our business, consistency in our daily lives, consistency in everything that we do in our life. Once we bend away from that consistency, we start cutting edges, cutting corners. And we begin to look at things in a fast fashion. That doesn't even sound right, does it? But and we're looking at things and how to get things done quickly. That's a better way to say it. We start out really good at the very beginning, and then at the end, we start cutting corners because we didn't follow the rule of consistency. And as I was painting, I was noticing at the end, as I was getting so close to getting everything done, because you know what I do? I always save all of the top corners and all of the side corners for my very last part of my paint job. Now, you've got to realize I'm an accountant. But that's how I was trained. That's how I think about things. I look at things as black and white. And in my line of field, also as a mediator, I'm very consistent in how I do things. But as an accountant, it has to be done. The debits and the credits and everything have to be done consistently in the right way. Otherwise, you get bad data out. Bad data in, bad data out. Same thing in painting. At the end there, I thought, do I really need to do that? Do I really need to paint there again? No one's going to see it. That's over in the corner where it's dark. No one's going to see it. But then in my heart of my mind, I went over and painted it because it was the right thing to do. I had to be consistent in what I was doing. And we have to apply the same rule in everything that we do. If we're going to church, be consistent at it. If you get up in the morning and pray, be consistent at it. If you end your day in prayer, be consistent. If you are dealing with people, deal with them truthfully, honestly, and ethically. Be consistent about it, and you will have no problems along the way. And the list goes on, doesn't it? If you're going to drive safely, consistently. If you're going to give good advice, listen consistently, and then give your advice. That is the hardest thing to do in life, is to be consistent about everything that we do or say, how we live our lives. In fact, the word consistent is even a boring word, right? Oh my gosh, my life is going to be boring if I'm going to be consistent. Well, unfortunately, the way life works is to get things done, and to get them done on time, to get them done right, to get them done ethically, to get them done for your clients or your family or whoever it may be, you have to be consistent. Because the message that you are relaying on to those other people or organizations is that you're consistent. You do what you say you're going to do. You get the job done. You get the task done. In parenting, you have to be consistent in everything. Now, I know sometimes when the child is yelling at the top of their voice, that it's easy to not be consistent because you just want them to be quiet, right? Well, consistency has to be applied in everything, even when you're raising a child, because that child has got to know that you mean what you say. And that whatever you tell that child, you are going to be consistent with whatever the result is going to be. Same in business. When we're dealing with our clients, we have to be consistent with our message, consistent with how we do our work. It has to be there. I've often wondered if I had been more consistent throughout my life, how much more successful I might have been. And I think that's the most important thing in my life now, is to be consistent. And I tell you, it has worked out very well, because being consistent, you begin to weed out that aspect of life that is not worthwhile to deal with, or even those individuals who are not adequate enough to be honest with you and to be consistent with you. You have to weed those people out also. If they say they're going to do a thing, yeah, they've got to do it. But what I'm finding out in my life here in South Carolina, and also in moving to Florida, but especially here in South Carolina, is that people become lax in doing what is right, because it's so much easier to do what is wrong. It's so much easier to not keep a promise than be consistent in keeping your promises of what you say you're going to do. And I've learned through how people have dealt with me how very important it is for me to be consistent in that aspect of life also. So that's my story today, is we have to strive to be consistent within every aspect of our life. Because that is how our reputation, you know, the most important asset that you own, that you have, that is in your life, is your reputation. Once your reputation is gone because you have not been consistent in what you said you were going to do, it's gone. And to get it back is going to be even tougher to get it back. Consistency is what builds a strong reputation in business, in church, in family, in relationships, in friendships. That practicing and observing consistency is what makes our reputations become stronger. People want to say, I want to do business with that person. I want to be a friend with that individual. I want to be an associate with that individual, because the reputation states that he is consistent in everything that he says or she says they will do. It's very important. Very, very important. So that's my lecture today. I'm being consistent. Now, I realize I have not been very consistent about doing my podcast, and I've got to do better at that. But when you're moving, and when you're moving boxes, and you're packing boxes, and you're putting them onto trucks, and you're trying to hook up internet connections, and telephones, and gas, and you're trying to paint, and you're trying to do every single thing by yourself, because I have no help at all in doing all this, sometimes I miss out on being consistent with my podcast. Because I tell you right now, because I'm so damn old, I am as stiff as a board, because my body as an office guy is not used to riding in trucks and lifting and pushing and painting and whatever else it takes to do a move. And I still have about 2 more weeks of moving, because I still have this house in South Carolina that I've got to sell. So I can't let all of my furniture go down to South Carolina, because I got to make this house still look presentable. So that is my problem, is that I have a couple more or 3 more weeks of this moving bit. So I've got to stay healthy. I've got to stay wise on the way that I do things, but I still got to be consistent. So I promise, if I'm here in South Carolina, I promise you I will sit down at my desk, pull up the mic, and record the podcast. I've got to remain consistent. I want to talk about one other thing, because I tell you, I've talked about this so many times, but it is really bugging the hell out of me. And what I'm seeing is that there are individuals on Instagram and Facebook and everything that are trying to sell you a dream. And that dream is to make you a millionaire, to make you a billionaire. And they keep using the word dream. You got to live your dreams. You got to take the risk. You got to do all this stuff. And what I've talked about this so much, you guys are probably so tired of it, but I've got to say it. When you see these guys flashing their cars, the Rolls Royces, the Bentleys, the Ferraris, and they're flashing their Learjets and the private jets, and they're flashing the bling on their wrists from their Rolex watches and everything else, I'm telling you from experience, and when I've dealt with these people, is that their story is not a real story. I go back, I told you this before, I'm writing this book right now on Ponzi. And all of the people in the stages of history that have exactly copied the Ponzi scheme of flashing the newest items, of flashing the watches, of showing how grand of lifestyle they are. And it's consistent with every single scheme or scam that these people have done over the years. If you look at Madoff appeared that he was a billionaire, that he had all of this. Well, he was a millionaire, but it was based off because he was taking other people's money and using it for his own personal use. And so you see this all the time. The only individual who is going to become a millionaire is the individual who is selling you the scheme. That sometimes turns into a scam. Schemes into scams. That's what it should be called. But I see it consistently. And then when you look at the followers of all the comments that, oh my gosh, you are so great. Oh my gosh, you're telling it like it is. Oh my gosh. But they're not looking at the words behind what he's saying. What she is saying. They are nothing but the mumbo jumbo of what everybody wants to sell a product to you and make money off of you. They're the ones making the money, not you. So you sit there with this $4,000 course that you bought, and a year later you're still sitting there. Haven't put anything into effect because it's nothing. There's no plan of action in there. There's no guidelines of what to do. It's just all words. All words of nothingness. And so I see these people falling for this every single day because people are so consumed about becoming wealthy that they forget to look at the fine print or the words or the small words that these individuals are using to sell their scheme. And if you look at them all, they're all basically saying the exact same thing. You know how you become rich? It is not through these schemes, but it is through hard work, finding something that you want to do, focusing on it, putting together a plan of action, and then working on that plan of action, and finding the people that are smarter than you that can advise you on how to implement your plan of action, and then working as hard as hell to get it done. Now, I'm going to tell you that sometimes you may work as hard as you possibly could, but it just doesn't work out because something was wrong along the way that you didn't look at. Something that you didn't observe or something that you didn't listen to. Something happened. Not all plans are going to be successes because it might be the economy, it might be several different issues that came along the way that may even put your plan out of whack because no one really needed that plan anymore or that service or that product. Things happen along the way. That's why we're always tweaking, even to this day. I mean, I've been in business since 1984, but every single year I put together a plan of where I want to be and how I want to get there. But I have to tweak it along the way because things happen. Things that you don't expect. So you sit down and you tweak it some more. And in fact, you may even discontinue services and offer different services. Because those services that you just discontinued probably are no longer needed any longer or anymore. But don't fall for the scheme of somebody that says, you want to be a millionaire? I can get you a millionaire. I can give you 6%. I can give you 30% if you just invest with me. I can give you back your return. When in actuality, you've probably gone out and done it yourself and made a much better profit. But these people are so convincing and so good at telling the story of their scheme that they get you all hyped up. They see you sit there in front of your television or in front of your cell phone now. Times have changed. And they show you how they're riding around in this Rolls Royce. They're flying in their private jet. And you think, oh my gosh, how cool. I want to be that person. I want to be that guy. And that guy that you're watching comes out every single day consistent. And this is what consistency is all about. But he's consistently pushing his scheme. And he's consistently pushing the buttons on you to buy his thing or to invest into his thing. So you have to be very careful out there. To become a millionaire or a billionaire, it takes hard work. And it takes focus and it takes planning. It does not take a seminar. You'll never become a millionaire from a seminar. But I'm so concerned about this because I see it every single day. And as I write my book on schemers and scammers, it is consistent with every single one of them. You know what they do is there's a great Chinese phrase out there. It's called muddying the waters. The muddier the waters, the more they can get in there and you grasp onto you because you can't see them. You can't see their dirty work. You can't see the scheme that they're trying to do. But you believe them because you see big numbers. You see big results because they're driving something fancy or wearing something that's gaudy on their wrist. I'll tell you a good story. I had a client several years ago. And they own a mortgage company, a big, huge operation in Hawaii and also in California. And they brought me in because they needed to get a warehouse line of credit. So we needed clean financials and to get them looking like they were a good operation, which I did. I got them the wholesale line. They got a $3 million wholesale line to fund their own loans. But the problem is that even though they were getting everything together, they were portraying a different story of what there actually was, because they lost money during a period of time where everybody else was making money in the mortgage industry. But they lost money because they wanted to go off and do this scheme, and the scheme backfired on them. Business is no longer in business. But they wanted to make everybody feel that they were successful. So you know what they did? They went on to eBay and they bought used Rolex watches, wore them, but they were losing money. So with every scheme, with every picture of a scheme, there's a different story. There's another story that you don't even know about, but you could know about if you just paid attention to what was being said. Schemes muddy the waters so that when you're looking at something, all of a sudden something else pops up and you're looking in a different direction because they don't want you looking over there. So I'm highly concerned about what I'm seeing, and I don't want you guys out there getting involved in spending thousands and thousands of dollars on these schemes when you could be doing it just yourself. You could be making your own money. When you have control over your money, that's your responsibility. When you hand over your life to somebody else, or you hand over money to yourself. There's this one guy who is selling investments into his real estate scheme, but you lose control over the say of anything in that scheme. You lose control. You can't even ask any questions. You can't even make a suggestion of what to do, because the individual that owns that scheme has taken your money, and now he is using your money for what? Who knows what? You're not getting financial statements that clearly outline what the funds are being used for, what we call the sources and uses of funds report. You don't see that because you have signed an agreement that says you have lost control over your money. Now, why anybody would do that, I have no idea. I mean, if you are a multi-million-dollar company where you have a few million that you can gamble with or take a risk on, fine. But if you are an individual who are trying to get ahead, it's not up to somebody else that's going to get you ahead. It's up to you. You're the one that has to make that decision on which direction you need to go to make your own wealth. So that is my concern. My biggest concern is that people are falling for the schemes. I mean, that happens every single day. And we've seen a lot of people go to jail because their schemes turned into scams, and that has hurt a lot of people. Look at Madoff. Madoff has hurt millions of people. Ponzi hurt thousands of people. When he started his Ponzi scheme, he hurt thousands of people. Not just once, but 3 different times. He had a scheme going on, and people kept falling for it. There's always a story behind the scheme. There's always a story behind the schemer. So all that I am asking is that do your due diligence and protect yourself. If you have any questions, send me a text at 818-252-5682, 818-252-5682 if you have any questions. Remember our firm at Lodge & Company, we offer business mediation, family mediation, divorce mediation, all types of mediation, and we also provide business consultation, also coaching if you need it. Remember, I've been in business since 1984, and I have advised hundreds and hundreds of people and businesses on what needs to happen to remain consistent to keep their companies going. So if you have any questions, again, send me an email at a text. Send me a text at 818-252-5682. And I will answer your question, I promise you, no matter where I'm at, because it goes directly to my phone. We have a computerized system at the office, and we have them so that it forwards to our cell phones. Get it together, guys. I'll talk with you very soon. And thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the WBT with Michael Lodge. Join us again tomorrow as we explore more about business and taxes. Follow us on iHeartRadio and go to our podcast website at www.wbtpod.com and listen to all of our podcasts and read our blogs.
This is brought to you by Lodge & Co., a business and tax advisory firm where your success is our goal. Call us today toll-free at 888-681-1518 or visit us at www.lodge-co.com and learn more about what we can do for you. Lodge & Co., your source for sound business and tax services.
This is produced by Michael Lodge. Content driven all the way.